In the previous lecture, I talked about that the electric field vector, it points towards any direction at any point of time and at any point in space. So it points in a random direction. And this electric field vector, it can be resolved into two orthogonal components. So this electric field vector, it points in any direction. So let's say it points in this direction. So the electric field of the EM wave, it points in a particular direction at particular point of time and at a point in space. So this electric field which points in one direction, it can be resolved into two perpendicular components. So any electric field vector at any instant of time and at any point in space can be thought of a combination, or you can say superimposition, of two electric vectors which are perpendicular to each other. So let's say the actual electric field at particular instant of time, and keep in mind over here that we are talking about electric field that is present in an EM radiation, and in an EM radiation we know that electric field, it goes sinusoidally. The electric field, it comprises of a sinusoidal wave. It can be either sine wave or we can call it as a cosine wave. So it varies sinusoidally. So the electric field vector, the displacement of the electric field, let's say if it is in this direction at a particular point of time, at a particular instant of time and at any point in space, let's say the electric field of the EM wave is in this direction. So as the time goes, the displacement, it will go sinusoidally. It will vary sinusoidally. So this can be thought of as a combination of two electric vectors. So this electric field at any instant of time and at any point in space, it can be thought of as made up of superimposition. It is made up of two orthogonal components of electric field. So these components which are present, these components into which the electric field is resolved, these two components, they will also vary sinusoidally. Because let's say if the electric field, it points in this direction up to this point, so the magnitude, it represents the displacement. So let's say at any instant of time the electric field arrow, it was up to this point. So it can be resolved into two components, orthogonal components, and after some point of time the displacement, it is varying sinusoidally, and let's say after some point of time the displacement, it just remains up to this point because it is varying sinusoidally. And over here, this convention that I have taken this as the x-axis and this as the y-axis, and the z-axis will be coming out of the plane of the paper. It will be coming out of the paper. So the z-axis is thought to be the direction of propagation of light. As we had drawn the EM wave in the previous lecture, it was a sinusoidal wave, and this was thought of as the z-axis, and this can be called as the x-axis, and this perpendicular was the y-axis. So now this diagram that I have drawn over here, this diagram has been drawn from this point of view. So we are standing over here and we are viewing the EM radiation that is falling into our eyes. So we are viewing this radiation from this point of view. So the z-axis is the direction of propagation of light, and it is coming out of the paper. And the electric field vector is varying sinusoidally. So over here I have drawn a plane polarized wave. So it can be either unpolarized wave, plane polarized wave, circularly polarized, or elliptically polarized wave. So over here I have drawn a plane polarized wave. So if you will see this EM radiation from this point of view, you will see that the electric field vector is first increasing and then it is decreasing, then it goes in the negative direction, then again it goes to zero, then again it increases, and so on. Means the electric displacements, they are sinusoidal, as you will view it from this point of view. So now you are viewing it from the top of the paper. Now EM radiation is coming directly towards the receiver, and you are viewing it from the top of the paper, and the electric displacements that you will see, that will be just present in this plane. They can be in any direction. So let's say the electric field at any instant of time, it was up to this point. Then after some time you will see that the electric displacement, it may decrease. It will decrease up to this point of time. Then again it will go to its negative direction, or it can go to in any direction. So the thing that I want to say over here is that the displacement of the electric field, if you will view it from the top of the paper, it will vary sinusoidally. So therefore the components of the electric field, the components, the two perpendicular components into which the electric field is resolved, these two components, they will also be sinusoidal functions. They will also be the sinusoidal functions, and this is because their superimposition, the superimposition of these two sinusoidal functions will result into the resultant electric field, and the resultant is varying with time. Therefore their orthogonal components should also vary with time, that is, they should also be sinusoidal. So let's say the x component of the electric field at any point of time is given by E1 cos of omega t. So this we are assuming. You can either take sine or you can take cos. So the x component of the electric field along this direction, that is given by E1 cos of omega t, and as the time progresses, as time will progress, the x component will keep on changing. And the y component of the electric field will be given by Ey is equal to E2 cos of. Now over here I have taken E1 and over here I have taken E2. These are the amplitudes of these orthogonal components. Now E2 is the amplitude. It is the maximum value it can go. It is the maximum value that Ey can go up to. And this is the amplitude of the y component of the electric field, and E1 is the amplitude of the x component of the electric field. So this Ey, it is given by E2 cos of omega t plus delta. Now these two orthogonal components, they are given a phase difference of delta, and we will see that when this delta is equal to 0, when this delta is equal to 0, these two electric fields, when they will superimpose, they will form a linearly polarized wave. And when this delta is equal to pi by 2, then it will form an elliptically polarized wave. And if delta is equal to pi by 2 as well as E2 is equal to E1, their amplitudes are the same, then it will form a circularly polarized wave. So if delta is equal to 0, that is, there is no phase difference between these two orthogonal components of the electric field. So when these two components, they will superimpose, when delta is equal to 0, in that case it will form a linearly polarized wave, and the electric displacement, the electric field displacements, you will see that they will be in one line. So they will displace in this manner. So that is nothing but the plane polarized light. So we are viewing the EM radiation from the top of the paper, and the wave is coming out of the paper. So we are viewing it from this point of view. So this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis, and if the displacements, if you will see from this point, you will see that if it is a plane polarized wave, then the displacements will be either in the upward direction or in the downward direction, again in the upward direction, again in the downward direction. So if you will see it from this point of view, so when you will see it from this point of view, you will see that the electric displacements, they are in a line. So therefore, if delta is equal to 0, then you will see that the electric displacements, they occur on a same straight line, and that is nothing but the linearly polarized wave or the plane polarized wave. Then we will see that when delta is equal to pi by 2, in that case the superimposition of these two orthogonal components will result into elliptically polarized wave. In that case, what will happen? The resultant electric field, it will trace an ellipse. The tip of the electric field, it will trace an ellipse with time when delta is equal to pi by 2 and E2 is not equal to E1. Then in the third case, when E1 is equal to E2, and delta is equal to pi by 2, in that case the resultant electric field which we will get by the superimposition of these two components, the tip of the resultant electric field, it will trace a circular path. The tip of the electric field in that case, it will trace a circular path, and that will be called as the circularly polarized wave. So now let's assume that wave is propagating in the plus z direction. In this plus z direction, and in this diagram the plus z direction is coming out of the paper. So it is coming out of the paper. Now Ex and Ey components, the x and the y components of the electric field, these are the two electric fields varying sinusoidally with time. So these will vary sinusoidally with time, and they may have different amplitudes. Ex and Ey, they may have different amplitudes, that is E1 can not be equal to E2 or E1 is equal to E2. So they may have different amplitudes and a phase difference. So we are assuming the phase difference between these two perpendicular components is equal to delta. Therefore I have written over here cos of omega t, and over here I have written cos of omega t plus delta. Now Ex, it oscillates in the horizontal direction. Now this Ex, now what is this Ex? It is equal to E1 cos of omega t. Now let's suppose when time t is equal to 0, in that case we will get cos of 0. In that case Ex will be maximum, that is it will be equal to E1 when t is equal to 0. So in that case it will be maximum, let's say it is up to this point. Now as time progresses, the value of cos omega t, it decreases. As time increases, the value of cos omega t decreases. So this vector, the length of this vector will decrease as time progresses, and when omega t, this whole omega t becomes equal to pi by 2, omega into t, when it becomes equal to pi by 2, then this Ex component, it will be exactly equal to 0, and as omega t, it increases from pi by 2, then the value of Ex will be in the negative x-axis direction. So the Ex component, it oscillates in the horizontal direction. The Ex component, it oscillates in horizontal direction, and Ey component, it will oscillate in the vertical direction. So similar is the thing for Ey. So the Ey component, it will oscillate in the vertical direction. Now at any instant of time, we will have a resultant electric field. So here we have time variable, here we have time variable. So at any point of time, Ey will have a particular value and Ex will have a particular value. So their superimposition will give us the resultant value of the electric field. So at any instant of time, we will have a resultant electric field, and that is given by the vector addition of these two perpendicular components. Now how does the resultant electric field, it behaves with time? How does the resultant electric field, that is the tip of the electric field that we will get, the arrow that we will get, the resultant electric field by the superimposition of these two electric fields. So how does this tip of the resultant electric field behave with time, or you can say what is the locus of tip of the electric field as a function of time. So this will decide this behavior of the resultant electric field. The behavior of the resultant electric field means if it is vibrating along a line, or it is tracing an ellipse, or the tip of the electric field is tracing a circle. So this behavior is called as the state of polarization of the light. So if it is vibrating, if the electric field is oscillating along a line, along a straight line, then we will call it as linearly polarized light. And if the vibrations of the electric field, they are in random directions, they are in any random directions at any point of time, then it is called as unpolarized light. And that happens when this phase difference is not fixed, when this phase difference between the perpendicular components is not fixed. In that case, the superimposition of these two electric fields, it will generate the resultant electric field in any random direction. As we had seen in the previous lecture, that the natural light, or the light from the light bulb or incandescent bulbs, so those light rays, they are unpolarized light, and they are unpolarized light because the light waves, the wave trains which are emitted by such sources, those wave trains which are emitted, they are emitted, the electric fields in those wave trains are in any random direction, and due to this they have any random phase. So they have any random phase difference. So this random phase difference gives us the unpolarized light. So in the case of unpolarized light, we do have two perpendicular components. We have two perpendicular components of the electric field, but this phase difference, it does not remain fixed in the case of unpolarized light, whereas in the case of linearly polarized light, the electric field, it vibrates, it oscillates along a straight line, and in that case delta is equal to 0. And we will see that when delta is equal to 0, the superimposition of these two electric fields will generate linearly polarized light, and we will see the derivation in few minutes. And then the third state of polarization is the circularly polarized light. Circularly polarized light, and this happens when delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2 and E1 is equal to E2. The amplitudes of the two electric field components, they are exactly equal to each other, and delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2. In that case, the resultant electric field that we will get will trace a circle. So that is called a circularly polarized light, and last one is the elliptically polarized light. So we have seen that linearly polarized light, in this case delta is equal to 0. Then in circularly polarized light, delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2. And in the case of elliptically polarized light, we have said that delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2. Now in the circularly polarized light, we have another additional condition that E1 should be equal to E2. So this is the additional condition in the case of circularly polarized light, that E1 should be equal to E2 and the phase difference should be equal to plus minus pi by 2. And in the case of elliptically polarized light, E1 is not equal to E2 in the case of elliptically polarized light, and delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2. And one more thing over here, that this elliptically polarized light, the elliptically polarized light that we get, it comes for the case of any value of delta except delta is equal to 0. Except delta is equal to 0, we will get elliptically polarized light. But I have said over here that delta should be equal to plus minus pi by 2 in the case of elliptically polarized light. So this statement is also true, and we will see in few minutes that except delta is equal to 0. So any value of delta, for any value of delta except delta is equal to 0, we will get elliptically polarized light. But when delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2, in that case the ellipse that we will get, the major and the minor axis of that ellipse will be parallel to either y or x axis. So now I am repeating over here again that for the case of linearly polarized light, delta is equal to 0. And in this case, the superimposition of two electric fields, they will form the resultant electric field which will oscillate along a straight line. Then in the case of circularly polarized light, E1 should be equal to E2 and delta should be equal to plus minus pi by 2. In this case only, the resultant electric field, it will trace a circle. Then the last that we have is elliptically polarized light. Now the condition of elliptically polarized light is that this delta, it should not be equal to 0. Other than delta is equal to 0 and E1 is equal to E2. So for elliptically polarized light, E1 must not be equal to E2. So delta should not be equal to 0 for elliptically polarized light. Then in that case, we will get an ellipse. The resultant electric field will trace an ellipse when delta is not equal to 0. Except delta is equal to 0, the resultant electric field, it will trace an ellipse. But for the case of delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2, the ellipse which is traced, in that case also the ellipse is traced, but in that case the ellipse which is traced, the major and the minor axis of the ellipse, they will be parallel to the y and the x axis. So what I am saying is that except delta is equal to 0, we will get an ellipse, but that ellipse will be tilted form. So that can be in this direction, that can be in this direction. But when delta becomes equal to plus minus pi by 2, when delta becomes equal to plus minus pi by 2, in that case the elliptically polarized light which we will get, the ellipse that is traced, the major axis and the minor axis, they are parallel to the y and the x axis. So other than delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2, the ellipse that we will get, it will be in random direction. It can be in any direction. So it can be in this direction, it can be in this direction. But when delta becomes equal to plus minus pi by 2, in that case, the major and the minor axis of the ellipse, they become parallel to the y and the x axis. That is, in that case, the ellipse that we will get will be either this one or it will be this one. So that is also a special case. We are doing a mathematical analysis that how the superimposition of the two electric fields, it gives us the polarized light. Now we had supposed that the x component of the electric field is equal to E1 cos of omega t and Ey is equal to E2 cos of omega t plus delta, and delta is the phase difference between these two perpendicular components. So from here, from this first equation, we will get Ex by E1. So what will be Ex by E1 from this first equation? It will be just equal to cos of omega t, and from here I will take out what is sine of omega t. So sine of omega t is nothing but under root of 1 minus cos square omega t. So that is under root of 1 minus cos square omega t. So sine of omega t will come out to be under root of 1 minus Ex square divided by E1 square. So this is the expression of sine of omega t. And second equation we have Ey is equal to E2 cos of omega t plus delta. So now I will open this cos of a plus b. So what is cos of a plus b? It is cos a cos b minus sin a sin b. So I will get from here E2 into E2 will remain as it is, and I will get cos of omega t into cos of delta minus of sine of omega t into sine of delta. And from here I will take out cos of omega t into cos of delta minus sine of omega t into sine of delta. I will take it on the left hand side, and on the right hand side I will get Ey divided by E2. So it will be Ey divided by E2. Now over here I have cos of omega t, and cos of omega t is nothing but Ex by E1. So what I am doing is I am doing the superimposition of these two equations. So instead of cos of omega t, I am inserting the expression that I got from the first equation. So that is Ex by E1. So cos of omega t will be Ex divided by E1 into cos of delta as it is, then minus sine of omega t. Sine of omega t is this expression. It will be 1 minus Ex square by E1 square into sine of delta. That will be equal to Ey divided by E2. Now what I will do is I will simplify this equation by removing this square root. To remove this square root, I will keep this expression on one side and will take all other factors on the other side. So I will take this expression on the right hand side. So I will get Ex by E1 into cos of delta as it is minus of Ey divided by E2. So on the right hand side I will get under root of 1 minus Ex square by E1 square into sine of delta. Now I will take square on both sides. So I will take square on both sides. I will have to do a minus b whole square, and over here also I will do the square. So I will get Ex by E1 cos of delta minus Ey by E2 whole square. So that will be equal to, I will do square on this side also. So square root will be removed. So I will get 1 minus Ex square by E1 square into sine square delta. Because sine delta is outside this square root, so I will get sine square delta. Now I will open this a minus b whole square. So it will be Ex square over E1 square cos square delta plus Ey square over E2 square, then minus of twice of Ex into Ey over E1 into E2 into cos of delta. So I have just opened a minus b whole square, and this will be equal to, now I am opening this round bracket also, I will get sine square delta minus of Ex square over E1 square into sine square delta. Now over here I have this expression, and over here I have this expression. So now when I will take this expression on the left hand side, so this ex square by e1 square will be common, and inside the bracket I will get cos square delta plus sin square delta, which is nothing but equal to 1. So when I will take this factor on this side, I will just get ex square by e1 square plus ey square by e2 square minus twice of ex into ey over e1 into e2 cos of delta, and that is equal to sin square delta. And this equation that we get after the superimposition of these two equations, so this equation that I get, this is the general equation of an ellipse. This equation that I get, this is the general equation of an ellipse. So this is the equation of an ellipse. So therefore tip of the electric field. So we will see that when we will put delta is equal to 0. So delta is equal to 0 was for the linearly polarized light, and I have just superimposed these two general equations. I have not fixed delta. Delta can take any value. So I have superimposed these two equations and I have got this equation, and this equation is the general equation of an ellipse, and we will see that when we will put delta is equal to 0, so in that case we will get an equation of a straight line. When you will put delta is equal to 0, we will get an equation of straight line. So this is just a general equation, and this is the equation of an ellipse. So generally if delta is not equal to 0, then an ellipse is traced by the resultant electric field. So this is the general equation, that is the tip of electric field, tip of the resultant electric field, it draws an ellipse, or you can say it traces an ellipse. So this is the general case. So now we will see the special cases. Over here, just remember that this equation that we had got, it is just the superimposition of these two general equations, and this is the general equation of ellipse, and we will use this equation in our special cases. Now the special case, first special case that we are doing is when delta is equal to 0, the phase difference between the two orthogonal components of the electric field is equal to 0. So what happens in that case? So now in this equation, this is the general equation that we got after the superimposition of these two general equations. So this is also the general equation. Now we will insert delta is equal to 0 over here. So you will see that cos of delta is cos of 0 will become equal to 1, and sin square 0 will be equal to 0. So in that case, the equation that we will get is ex square by e1 square will remain as it is, plus ey square divide by e2 square will remain as it is, and minus of, now cos of 0 will be equal to 1, and you will just get twice of ex into ey over e1 into e2, and that will be equal to sin square 0, which is nothing but equal to 0. So now this is nothing but a minus b whole square. So this whole equation is a minus b whole square, and this will be ex by e1 minus ey by e2 whole square, and that is equal to 0. So you will just get ex by e1 will be equal to ey by e2. So from here, so if this whole square is equal to 0, which means that this term will be equal to 0. So therefore we will get ex by e1 is equal to ey by e2, and from here you will get ey is equal to, ey will be equal to e2 divided by e1 into ex. Now e2 and e1, these are the constant values because these are the amplitudes. e1 and e2, these are the amplitudes, so they will be constant for a particular case. So this will be constant, and ey is directly proportional to ex in that case. The y component of electric field is directly proportional to the x component. So this will be nothing but the slope. So this is constant, and this is directly proportional to y component is directly proportional to the x component, and this is nothing but the equation of a straight line. So this is the equation of straight line. So therefore the resultant electric field in this case, it will trace a line. the resultant electric field in this case, it will trace a line. So if phase difference, the phase difference is equal to 0, that is if delta is equal to 0, then tip of electric field, tip of the resultant electric field will draw a straight line as a function of time. And we will take an example, and we will see that when delta is equal to 0, how the resultant electric field, it traces a straight line. And this E2 by E1, this ratio, this is nothing but the slope of the straight line, and this will decide the angle which the resultant electric field will make with the axis. So this slope, it will decide the angle which the displacement of the electric field, it makes with the axis, coordinate axis. So this special case, when delta is equal to 0, we have got the equation of a straight line. So therefore the tip of electric field, it will draw a straight line, and in this case this kind of light is called as linearly polarized light, because the resultant electric field, it always vibrates along a straight line. Now we will see that how delta is equal to 0, in this case the resultant electric field, it traces a straight line. So this was the electric field Ex, x component of the electric field, and this was the y component of the electric field. Now we are considering delta is equal to 0, that is there is no phase difference between the x and the y components of electric field. So when delta is equal to 0, in this case we will get E2 cos of omega t as it is. So now we will see that how as time progresses, the displacement of the electric field, it occurs along a straight line. So now delta is equal to 0. So it will be equal to Ey will be just equal to E2 cos of omega t. Now let's say when time t is equal to 0. So how these two functions behave when time t is equal to 0. So when time t is equal to 0, what will be Ex? It will be E1 cos of 0, and that will be nothing but equal to E1. And what will be Ey? It will be equal to E2 cos of 0, and that is nothing but equal to E2. So they will have their maximum values in this case. So Ex will be equal to E1 and Ey will be equal to E2 at time t is equal to 0. So I am drawing the case of time t is equal to 0 in this first diagram. So when t is equal to 0, Ex is equal to E1, which is the maximum value. So it is equal to E1. So this is the Ex value. Then when t is equal to 0, Ey is equal to E2. So let's say E2 is less than E1. So let's say E2 is less than E1. So let's say the y component will be somewhere over here. So this is equal to E2 and this is equal to E1. So Ex is equal to E1 and Ey is equal to E2 at time t is equal to 0. So at time t equal to 0, the x component is equal to E1 and y component is equal to E2. So now their superimposition will give us the resultant electric field. So what will be the resultant electric field? It will be just the superimposition, and using the parallelogram law of vector addition, the resultant electric field, it will be this one. At time t is equal to 0, the resultant electric field is this vector. Now when time is equal to pi by 3 omega, so we will put time t is equal to, now time is progressing, time is increasing. So when t is equal to pi by 3 omega, in that case what will happen? We will get cos of pi by 3. So when t is equal to pi by 3 omega, or you can say omega t is equal to pi by 3. So in this case omega t is equal to pi by 3. So time is progressing. So omega t is equal to pi by 3, then Ex will be equal to E1 cos of pi by 3. And what is cos of pi by 3? It is equal to 1 by 2. Cos of pi by 3 is equal to 1 by 2. So Ex in that case will be equal to E1 divided by 2. It will become half. Then Ey will be equal to E2 cos of pi by 3. So it will be equal to E2 divided by 2. So this is E1, this whole length is E1. So at time t is equal to pi by 3 omega, then what will be the x component? It will be just equal to E1 by 2. So it will become half. So over here was E1. So this will be E2. Oh sorry, this will be E1 by 2. So this will be the half value. So this will be the x component at time t is equal to pi by 3 omega. Now the y component is equal to e2 by 2. Now e2 was up to this length, so e2 was already up to this length. At time t is equal to pi by 3 omega, the y component become half of its value at t is equal to 0. It become half of the e2, so it will be up to this point. So this will be the y component of the electric field at time t is equal to pi by 3 omega. So the resultant electric field will be given by parallelogram law of vector addition, and the resultant electric field will be this one. So you can see that. So now this diagrams that I am drawing it on separate values, separate axis, x and y axis, but they will always be superimposing on each other. So I am drawing it separately just to make more clarity. Otherwise they will be on a straight line, they will be superimposing on each other. So first at time t is equal to 0, the displacement will be up to this point. Then at time t is equal to pi by 3 omega, the displacement will decrease and will come up to this point. So I have drawn it in a separate diagram so to make more clarity. So now displacement it decreases. So first it was maximum, then it decreases up to this point. Then when time t is equal to pi by 2 omega, in this case that is omega t is equal to pi by 2. Omega t is equal to pi by 2. So what happens when t is equal to pi by 2 omega? So ex will be equal to 0 and ey will also be equal to 0. So they will be just at the origin. So earlier at time t is equal to 0, the displacement was maximum. Then at this time the displacement decreases up to this point. Then at this point of time, this displacement it goes to 0. Then again when time t is equal to 2 pi by 3 omega, when time t is equal to 2 pi by 3 omega, or you can say omega t is equal to 2 pi by 3. So in this case when omega t is equal to 2 pi by 3, so ex will be equal to e1 of cos of 2 pi by 3, and that will be equal to minus e1 by 2, and ey will be equal to e2 cos of 2 pi by 3, and that is equal to minus e2 by 2. So they will go to the negative axis. So in this case the ex is equal to minus e1 by 2, so it will be in the negative direction, and up to this point, so it will be minus e1 by 2, and ey will be equal to minus e2 by 2, so it will be up to this point. So it will go in the negative direction. So the resultant will be in this direction. Then at time t is equal to pi by omega, so as time increases from 2 pi by 3 omega to pi by omega, in this case what will be ex? It will be equal to minus e1, and ey will be equal to minus e2. That is, they will go to their maximum value but in the negative direction. So over here ex will be equal to minus of e1, that is in the negative direction, and ey will also go to its maximum value. So its maximum value was up to this length in the positive direction, so it will be having same length but in the negative direction. So they will reach its maximum value, and the displacement of the resultant electric field will be this one. So it will be given by parallelogram law of vector addition, this one. So this is the resultant electric field. So as you can see that as time progresses, the electric displacement, it was maximum up to this point, then it decreases, then it goes to 0, then it increases in the negative direction, then it goes to its maximum value in the negative direction, and as time increases further, this process will keep on continuing. It will continue, that is, the displacements of the electric field, they will trace this straight line, and they will keep on oscillating sinusoidally. So this is how the linearly polarized wave is generated by the superimposition of these two orthogonal components, and the phase difference between these two orthogonal components is given by delta is equal to 0, and the ratio E2 by E1 that we saw on the previous page, that this E2 by E1 ratio, it decides this angle which is made by the electric displacement with the axis. So as time progresses, tip of the electric field moves along a straight line whose equation is given by, equation is Ey is equal to E2 by E1 into Ex. So now the special case under the linearly polarized light. So delta is equal to 0 is a special case, but there is a special case under this linearly polarized light. Now when E2 is equal to 0, that is the amplitude of the y component is equal to 0. So when E2 will be equal to 0, you will just have x component. So when E2 is equal to 0, this amplitude becomes equal to 0, you will just have x component. In that case, the vibrations of the electric field, they will be horizontally, and that will be called as horizontal polarization. When E2 is equal to 0, the amplitude of the y component is exactly equal to 0, then you will get the displacements of the resultant electric field, they will be horizontally, and that will be called as horizontal polarization. And in the second case, when E1 is equal to 0, when E1 will be equal to 0, then the vibrations of the electric field will be just along the y-axis, and that is called as vertical polarization. And last one, when E1 is exactly equal to E2. So when E1 is equal to E2, the slope will be equal to 1. E2 by E1, it decides the slope of the line, of this line. So E2 by E1 will be equal to 1 when E1 is exactly equal to E2. That is, this line, it will make 45 degrees with the x-axis or the y-axis. So it will make 45 degree angle. So this is how linearly polarized light looks like. Now one more thing that I should tell over here, that this whole explanation of the linearly polarized light ray by using these diagrams, these are just to make you clear that how the linearly polarized light ray is generated by the superimposition of the two orthogonal components. Whereas if you are asked to write about the linearly polarized light ray, how the linearly polarized light ray it is generated, so for that case you just have to write up to this explanation. So if you are asked to derive the formula, for that first of all you have to do this mathematical analysis which gives you the general equation of an ellipse, and after that you have to derive the case for the linearly polarized light by putting delta is equal to 0, and you have to derive only up to this point. So after this equation you just write that this is the equation of straight line, therefore the resultant electric field, the tip of the electric field, it will trace a straight line. Now this explanation that I have given over here, this is just to make you clear that how the tip of the electric field, it traces a straight line. And in the next lecture we will see that how by putting E1 is equal to E2, how by putting E1 is equal to E2, E1 is equal to E2, and by putting delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2, how the resultant electric field, it traces a circle, it draws a circle. And when E1 is not equal to E2 and delta is equal to plus minus pi by 2, in that case the tip of the electric field, it draws an ellipse, and major and the minor axis of that particular ellipse, they are parallel to the y and the x axis. So that we will do in the next lecture.